Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you are new. Today, once again, we're going to be reading some fun wedding/family drama, some Reddit stories. So if you want to grab your favorite drink or a snack, or if you're cleaning around the house, or if you're at work and you just need something to listen to, we're going to get right into it. Okay, so today we're going to be looking into stories about mother-in-laws, in-laws in general when it comes to weddings. You guys know weddings make people act absolutely crazy. It's probably all the emotions. Alcohol is involved. Lots of emotions are here. So this is where we're seeing all the drama. So buckle up and we're going to get started. And we're going to be reading from r/wedding shaming. This was posted 7 months ago by Distinct Dependent 24. Mother-in-law made my whole wedding speech about her. All right. So originally, my father-in-law was the only person allowed to give a speech and a toast, but the night before my wedding, mother-in-law texted me asking if she could please give a speech and how much it would mean to her. I hated the idea, but said yes anyways, just to keep the peace. Oh no. Sometimes it's okay to say no. You can just say no. During her 30-minute speech, I wish I was exaggerating, she talked about how hard it is to give away her son, but she'll do it anyway. How perfect her son is for me and his baby stories. She said how lucky I am to have him, etc. Not one thing about me. I have no one to talk to about this, so I just needed to vent and see if anyone else thinks this is a bit strange. ? It's definitely strange, especially since she asked for the bride's permission and then used her speech time. 30 minutes is a long speech to talk all about the groom and not about the love story and the daughter that she's gaining. That's a very sweet way to do it, but the way she did it, I think, was all wrong. Top comment here says, "This is why people say no to last-minute speech requests. She knew what she was doing," with 213 upvotes from Vivian Diane. I agree. It feels very dirty. It feels like a way to ask the bride permission and then to do something that she knew would possibly hurt her feelings. And maybe that wasn't her intention, but that's how it came off here. Anytime someone talks about keeping the peace, it's never their own peace. I like that. It's kind of just to not try to stir the pot, which I think is okay. I think it's okay to stir the pot sometimes because you deserve to be heard as well, especially when it comes to your wedding, something that's so important like a wedding day. You deserve to be heard as well. Alrighty, on to the next one. Reading from r/wedding shaming once again. This was posted 3 years ago from Castle Geek. Ex-mother-in-law wore white and cried the whole reception. That's one way to make the whole day about yourself. I got on with her okay, but she always liked to be the center of attention. I think it's only worked because I didn't care and sort of found it amusing most of the time, except my wedding day. Her wearing a white cocktail dress didn't bother me too much, but she got drunk immediately after the ceremony and then missed the dinner because she was crying in the lobby that her baby had just got married and her husband is going to die soon, so she'll be all alone. She kept having people come out to comfort her because you could hear her wailing. Her husband is still alive and kicking 12 years later, was never ill anyway, and luckily I'm divorced now, so she can have her baby back too. Man, I hope this bride is able to look back at this and at least smile a little bit, because that would still fuel my anger, 3 years later, or however long ago they got divorced. But man, that's rough. This one, top comment says, "Oh man, that ending was so satisfying. I missed the X in the title, LOL." Yes, ex-husband, for very good reasons. You do not need to be associated with that family anymore. Toxic boy moms, for real. They really be coming out of the woodwork when it comes to wedding season. From 3 years ago as well, in the comments. "My ex-mother-in-law cried and wailed on the phone to us for 6 weeks prior to our wedding. We were in different time zones at the time, so it was like 2 a.m. my time. She got off the plane and flung herself into my ex's arms and sobbed. My mom and I showed her my wedding dress. She threw herself onto my mom's bed and wailed. Kept saying her baby was making a mistake and that he would regret it." No, ma'am. It took me 28 years to finally have enough between her and the other women. We've been split almost 5 years, and I still loathe that woman with the fire of 1,000 suns. Man, yes, you ladies deserve better. I'm so sorry. Alrighty, y'all, on to the next one here. Okay, next one again is from r/wedding shaming, posted 7 months ago from the MJ. Mother-in-law's speech was a rule book for the bride from the 1910s. No. So a few years ago, I went to a wedding with my then boyfriend, an old friend of his. I didn't know the bride and groom too well outside of other weddings we'd been to, but I liked them both very much. Even though I went to the same Catholic high school as the bride, I didn't know she was practicing as Catholic. Most of us who went to the school are now very firm atheists. I was surprised the wedding ceremony was super traditionally Catholic, but didn't think much of it, as I know many people want a traditional church wedding and just go along with all the vows and promises to raise your to raise your children Catholic, etc. The reception was really sweet and a lot of fun until it came to the speeches, specifically the mother-in-law's. Dun dun dun. It started off with her welcoming the bride to the family and how they shared so many values, but then took a very weird turn. She pulled out this tiny vintage book, proclaiming it was her mother's, and she cast a spell on the crowd. Yeah, like Maleficent, that's what it sounds like. Okay, let's see. She pulled out this tiny vintage book proclaiming it was her grandmother's and one of the only things she saved when fleeing her home in the midst of World War II. The rest of her speech was reading from the book, which was essentially a rule book for wives on how to treat her husband, including always taking care of him like he was a child. No. Putting out his clothes, catering to all his needs, etc. And such gems as, if he is stressed and takes it out on you, don't fight back or even bring it up because it will just increase his stress. These are horrible, horrible ideas. Ugh. She read this with zero hint of irony or humor for a full 20 minutes. How does nobody say stop? They say, can you stop reading out of that book? It's scary. We hate that. We're not following what's in that book. No. All of us in our friend group sat there flabbergasted and unsure whether we should laugh or cry for our friend, the bride. All of it. Laugh so you don't cry because, man, the bride is already going to be doing enough crying later. After she finished reading, she said, "I hope this serves you well," and handed the book to the bride, who looked equally stunned. It was such an awkward silence. Even when the mother-in-law raised her glass to the bride and groom, a lot of people were only quietly raising their glasses. They're like, cheers, I guess. The couple is still married and very happy and probably not following that book. Yeah, probably not, because that's not a partnership. No, we're not treating our husbands like they are our child anymore. Partnership, equal parts. Right. Alrighty, let's see here. Top comment from individual Squash 36 from 7 months ago. My grandmother, who was an early feminist, kept her book and read it to me in order for me to never forget we were not where we were not so long ago. I remember a paragraph saying the wife should wait for her husband after his workday in front of the entrance door with a glass of wine to greet him and help him release from stress. Then she had to quietly disappear into the kitchen. No. Say, having a wife back in the day sounds like having a mom, having a maid, and having someone who cooks for you. No, ma'am, we're not doing that anymore. Nope. How awkward. I am so eternally blessed and grateful for my mother-in-law and women like her who would do anything for me, have never once made me feel bad about anything. I know I can go to her for anything. That's how it should be. It should be like an extension of your husband's mom, like taking care of you and just treating you like you've always been there and always been a part of their family. And yeah, we have never had any of these problems ever. And I know I'm so lucky that I get to say that because obviously people are out here having real problems. Let's see what's next. Alrighty, y'all. Next one is going to be from r/wedding shaming again. 4 years ago from Petty Lisa. I accidentally spilled red wine on my sister's mother-in-law's white dress. Good. Let's see. My younger sister, Grace, 26 female, got married July of 2019. She married a great man, Anton, 33 male, but borderline mama's boy. Oh, she said it. Grace's mother-in-law had an input in everything, from choosing the entourage, flowers, seating arrangements, giveaways, you name it. She was involved, in all caps. She even insisted on naming her future grandchild after her.
What?
I don't think you get to pick that. I don't think you get a say in that. Anyways, my sister was 4 months pregnant at the time. Oh, so she must have really been pushing it. No, ma'am. On the wedding day, while Grace and her bridesmaids were getting ready in their hotel room, I was informed by one of our cousins that mother-in-law arrived wearing a white dress. She did it on purpose. I don't get this. I don't understand how people are still doing this to this day. Being like, I didn't know. You knew. You did it on purpose. Why do you need so much attention on you? This is not about you. I don't get that at all. I felt sorry for my sister and had told her about it before the ceremony so that she can prepare herself. Good. I would have wanted to be warned too. The wedding went smoothly, and we all proceeded to the garden where the reception will be. I was minding my own business on my way to get a refill when I overheard mother-in-law talking to her friends. I still think that Grace isn't good enough for my son. And her sister heard it. Her sister heard that. She had mentioned that if it weren't for Grace getting pregnant, she never would have let her son marry my sister. And then the fire came out of the sister's head, and you could see her. She was about to shoot lava out of her mouth. Man, I bet she was fuming. My heart broke for my sister, and I regret hearing what her mother-in-law had said. So my petty butt proceeded to refill my glass. On my way back to my table, I accidentally tripped and spilled red wine on Monster-in-law's white dress. I profusely apologized and offered to help her wash up in the restroom. The mother-in-law obviously got upset, but she was actually able to hold her anger in and told me it's okay and that she would just go change her outfit. It was an accident. No, it was an accident. It happens. Nobody suspected a thing. She left and came back almost 30 minutes later. Again, I apologized to her and my brother-in-law and offered to pay for dry cleaning. I like that. I like that about you, girl. She said, let me just get a little bit of wine on there. And still offered to pay for dry cleaning. She's like, yeah, it was an accident. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I love that. I love that. And I hope she went right to her sister. Well, not that day. Maybe like a year after. And was like, stay away from that woman. She's evil. Okay, top comment from Cinnamon Bun from 4 years ago. Is it just me, or does brother-in-law sound like another spineless guy who cares more about what their mommy thinks instead of their wife? Yeah. And somebody said, yeah, that's more than a borderline mama's boy. Yeah, for real. I'd say if anybody, especially your mother-in-law, has said something about that, has said something like that about you, and your husband has done nothing about it, throw the whole man out. You're going to need to start over, because nobody should be being treated like that. Trashy Scum said she already deserved it for wearing a white dress. That comment was just the icing on the cake. 100%. You guys know, right after I read the title, I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. I didn't even need the mean comment for her to get wine spilled on her. And I hope she just knows how much her sister loves her and what she would do for her, because I'm sure she would have done a lot more than spill some wine. Alrighty, y'all, let me find one more for today's video. All right, y'all, this is our last one. It's going to be a little bit on the longer side, but we have another in-laws story today. Again, from r/wedding shaming. This was posted 1 year ago by radio_Caroline79. In-laws and best man at my brother's wedding. What could that be? Let's see. My brother got married in August of 2020 to his longtime girlfriend. They have 2 daughters, at the time almost 10 and 7 years old. It's very normal here to not marry and have kids. Half of my friends have been together with their spouse for 20 plus years, have kids and a house, and are not legally married. My sister-in-law is the only granddaughter on her side of the family, and she wanted her grandmother to experience her wedding before she passed. Plus, they were buying a house, so it seemed right at the time. Luckily, the wedding could go ahead with some adjustments despite COVID restrictions. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, that was peak COVID times. My brother-in-laws are pretty overbearing ever since my oldest niece was born. They have been inserting themselves into my brother and sister-in-law's lives, shown up on vacations, hogged the girls when they were babies, criticized the way they were raised, a lot, etc. My brother is pretty insecure and a people pleaser. My sister-in-law's brother was always the golden child, so my sister-in-law, who I love, sweeps a lot of behavior of her parents under the rug. On to the drama before the wedding. My sister-in-law had an idea about the dress style she wanted for her daughters. She was wearing a 50s swing-style wedding dress, and she was looking for floral/polka dot versions for my nieces. Her mother, I'll call her mother-in-law, ordered dresses for the girls because she thought my sister-in-law was taking too long. That is not up to you, girl. That is not up to you to decide. The dresses were nothing like my sister-in-law wanted, of course. My nieces wore the dresses my sister-in-law bought and used the dresses her mom bought as regular summer dresses. Okay, good. So sister-in-law was able to pick something out for them. My brother chose his best friend since kindergarten, let's call him Elle, and myself as witnesses. We have no other siblings. My brother and sister-in-law have a pretty big friend group, and for my sister-in-law, we had a low-key, COVID-conscious, co-ed bachelorette party. Some of the guys there had contacted Elle on organizing a bachelor party for my brother. He completely ignored them. Oh. In the end, a few guys from the friend group organized a bachelor party a week before the wedding. Elle didn't even show up. That's so sad. On the wedding day, my sister-in-law wanted to walk down the aisle with my nieces, marriage at the registry office, but there is an aisle and speeches, etc. But just before the door opened, her father said, "I'm walking you down the aisle." My sister-in-law protested, but her father didn't budge, so they walked in together and my nieces trailed behind them. Sir, you don't get to pick that. If she says no, she says no. So y'all saw my last video. No one should tell you what to do on your wedding. You can say no, and you can walk yourself down that aisle if that's what you want to do. There were 2 seats reserved for the witnesses next to the couple to each side of the room. Elle and I were sitting there waiting for my sister-in-law to walk up. Elle decides his girlfriend was lonely sitting in the crowd and added a chair for her. We were supposed to keep 6-foot distance, so she sat with the witnesses. No, she's not part of the ceremony. She's part of the audience. Weirdo. After the ceremony, it was time for pictures. My brother and sister-in-law both went to art school and have a lot of artistic friends, so they had some friends taking pictures. We took a group photo on some nice antique stairs, and my mother-in-law positions herself next to my brother, while her father stood next to my sister-in-law. My mom had no choice but to stand behind my brother. My kids, partner, and I stood to the side because my sister-in-law's family were all crowding around the happy couple. My mom is still ticked off about this, but didn't want to cause a scene at the time by telling mother-in-law to move. The reception and dinner and party were held on a boat. COVID restrictions meant we needed to have designated tables and could not mingle. A boat sounds a little small for COVID restrictions. See, we couldn't even go to Walmart. But anyways, it happened. Let's see. Meant we needed to have designated tables and could not mingle. Council was doing checks and could hand out fines. Yes, I remember. The boat was great and the weather was beautiful. As a party game, my sister-in-law's parents had made a quiz. There were questions about my brother and sister-in-law's favorite music, movies, food, their childhood and how they met, etc. I won the quiz by knowing my brother and by logical thinking. Mother-in-law didn't want to believe I won, and not someone from her family. She still believes that to this day I cheated. She handed me my prize, some candy, pretty reluctantly. Oh, and Elle and his girlfriend straight left after dinner. This guy needs better friends. That's so sad. Mother-in-law is still overbearing and has been spreading misinformation about some medical problems my mom has been dealing with. My sister-in-law's grandma is still alive and kicking. My sister-in-law's brother just became a dad, so the attention of her parents has shifted, and my nieces are very independent. So my brother and sister-in-law are more and more free from her overbearing parents. It's not as dramatic as some weddings, but my mother-in-law's behavior still comes up from time to time. Top comment here from Malphus43 says, "All I can say is ouch. My petty self would also get a friend who wasn't at the wedding to comment on the wedding photos in front of in-laws and how weird it was that they didn't even let the groom's family anywhere near him. His own mom wasn't even allowed to stand next to him." Yeah, that makes more sense the way that they put it, because I was getting confused with the family dynamics here since she was his sister. But yeah, that's super weird. Let's see. Somebody else said, "I hope Elle isn't in the picture anymore because he did the absolute bare minimum for your brother. Are they even still friends?" And OP replied, "Since the wedding, no, not anymore. I think my brother was holding on to what once had been a solid friendship, but was sorely disappointed in the end." Someone else said, "This is exactly how I felt the entire time reading this. People like these in-laws will continue to act that way or get progressively worse if everyone around them backs down to keep the peace." OP said, "Oh, I completely agree. I would never accept this level of meddling from my in-laws, but my brother and I are polar opposites. I'm very vocal and assertive. My brother is not. I can understand my mom not wanting to make a scene during the family photos at the time, but she has had regrets ever since that day that she didn't." That's a lot. I wish we would have got a side of that story from the bride herself, just because I know how hard it can be to deal with your family and having to mix families. So my heart just really goes out to her. I hope it wasn't an awful day as it seems like it was from the outside. I mean, it could have been, just because it sounds like she's been dealing with those kind of parents for her whole life. Like we said at the top of this video, weddings can be a lot. They can be emotionally intense days, feelings of overwhelming joy and love, excitement, stress, nervousness, old traumatic feelings, or family hurt. Things can come up. These feelings can affect the couple, it can affect the families. Weddings are typically a major life transition. It's a ceremony that is a witness to that very large shift and transition into them becoming one, into becoming this one couple, and that can, again, resurface all of these really big feelings. I had a lot of fun reading these stories today. If you're still here and you enjoyed the video, please give me a like. If you have any crazy stories of your own, please leave me a comment. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing so you can see more of what I have to offer here on YouTube. And I will see all of you next time. Bye.
Every night, I we paradise, but we